नहीं उसको करना हो तो गिफ्ट में व्हाट नहीं।
नमस्कार दोस्तों, हार्ट टॉक्स की अगली कड़ी में आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। आप सभी, मैं देख रही हूँ, आज के टॉपिक के लिए बड़े ईगर हैं और बहुत देर से वेट कर रहे हैं। अनफॉर्चुनेटली आई एम नॉट एट आगरा, आई एम ट्रैवलिंग एंड आई एम एट पुणे, so we were facing some technical problems. And our guest is already here, Dr. Shishir Palsapure. We welcome you, Dr. Shishir, to our program. Dr. Shishir is a well-known name in the RECBT scene in India since many years now. He's a pioneer. He brought Albert Ellis Institute to India, benefiting lots and lots of psychologists, helping them to train in RECBT, which was very difficult earlier. We had to travel all the way to America to do a primary certificate or an advanced certificate. Shishir, we are so much privileged that you are doing so much for the psychologists, young budding psychologists, and experienced psychologists of India. We heartily welcome you to our show.
Namaskar, and thank you very much, Chinu, for this opportunity to talk to a lot of psychologists and non-psychologists. I also am grateful to all the audience. Quite a few friends of mine, friends from the UK, friends from United States, India, and of course Australia, other countries. There are people, friends who are watching me. So thank you for joining here, and thank you, Chinu, for Dr. Chinu, for this opportunity. All right, so let's get started.
Yeah. And Shishir, this is the month of love. Valentine's Day का ये महीना है. And we all are, celebrating Rose Day, Propose Day, and so many days till we actually end up on February 14th, that is the Valentine's Day. And young people, and I now know that so many experienced couples, married couples, are also excited about these days nowadays. So, what do you feel about love? What is your opinion about,
Now, from a point of view of a psychologist, or the point of view of a husband or a father or a son, so love basically, it means differently to everyone. The basic question, what is love? If you ask to everyone, you will get different definitions every time. So it's like biryani, biryani. How do you make biryani? So everyone will have a different recipe of biryani, but
yeah.
the common ingredients would there be, that are common in all the recipes. There would be rice, there would be spices. So in love, I think I have two definitions of love, or my perspective towards love is love is one emotion which satisfies your deepest desires. This is one way to look at love. Another way to look at love is an emotion where you want the other person to really be happy, and you want them to grow with fondness. Now, these three ingredients are important in love. You want the other person to be happy, you want the other person to grow, and you are fond of them. Now, coupled with these three, you may have other spices added too. So, it could be a romantic angle to it. So that's the relationship between two people who are in a romantic relationship. But there doesn't have to be a romantic angle to it. But these three ingredients basically are very important in what I call love.
Yeah, very, very well said, Shishir. And in India now, at around 10, 15 years ago, there was nothing like dating or premarital, something where you get into a relationship or you have breakups. But now, breakups are very common in our country also. And in your counseling career, have you? I'm sure that you must have dealt with lots of cases where people are not able to cope with breakups.
Yes, I would not agree with this that, we did not have these before 10 to 15 years. It was already there. It was in huge proportions as well. So I wouldn't say that it was not there. It was always there. Now it is more visible that people are in love. People have, relationships before they get married, and people have breakups. So now people are nowadays talking more about it. So I think there is a lot of normalization of these things today, so we see more of it. Coming to your second point, dealing with breakups, yes, I do face a lot of clients. I see a lot of clients who are going through breakups or who have had breakups and still not able to what they call as move on. So they have been traumatized by the relationship, or they're traumatized by the breakup itself. So yes, I do see a lot of patients. This morning only I saw a very young 16-year-old boy who came to me, and he had a breakup 6 months back, and he was still coping with it.
And do you see that there is an individual difference between how people take it? Some people are able to take it well, and some people get intensely affected by it and they suffer a lot.
Absolutely. There is always an individual difference between how people take any event, for that matter, a positive event or a negative event. But definitely a lot of individual differences we see. Nobody would probably be happy about a breakup unless it's a toxic relationship and they really want to move on. So they would be happy that a breakup has happened. So this itself means breakup in itself cannot be bad, but the way you look at it could determine how you are going to react to it. And that's good news, because we can learn to react differently to a breakup.
Yes, because if it depends on our reactions, then we can do something about it.
Absolutely.
And as we were talking about how common they have become now, and at least people have started talking about it, and it has become visible. So there is much scope to, help people to deal with it. Earlier, it was a hush-hush affair, so nobody would come out and spell out their suffering. So it was more difficult. And one point that you said that, nobody can be happy about breakups unless it is a toxic affair is a very important point. I have some research data to quote about it. So in a breakup, there are actually two people. And these two people are donning two different roles. One is the rejecter and one is the rejectee. So there is one who is calling off the relationship, and the other who is, having to face that breakup, who was not ready for that. And the research is very, insightful, where it says that there are gender differences in how they are reacting to breakup. So I'll just look at it and I'll just tell you the exact percentage of how people take it.
So talking about this, one is a rejecter and other is a rejectee. I once actually assisted a breakup. So there were three people in the breakup. The therapist.
One is the assistant.
So this was an affair between a married woman, her gym trainer, and then it was getting very difficult for both of them to carry it forward. So I assisted the breakup. So I was the evil one. And they mutually broke up. Yeah.
Okay. So see, there are these so many emotions. I'll talk about them a little later. But I'm just quoting how many people feel happy after a breakup. And we will first look at the rejectors. So 35% males feel happy after a breakup.
Okay, that's a good number.
That's a good number, as opposed to 17% females. 17% females who are rejectors, who are calling off the relationship themselves. Still, they don't feel happy.
Right.
They're themselves calling off the relationship, but they are not feeling happy. As far as the rejectees is concerned, males and females, if they are rejected by someone and they have called up a relationship, both of them are not happy. Only 3% of males and 3% of females, if they have been rejected, feel happy. So look at this research data. It's so insightful.
Right.
So if you have been rejected, so rejection comes up as a psychological issue over here. So what do you want to talk about it, Shishir?
See, rejection definitely means differently to everyone, but
Hmm.
most see many times what happens, the relationship, there are many things wrong in the relationship, there are many
Hmm.
things that are unhelpful in the relationship, and finally one person rejects another person.
Hmm.
So let's talk from the point of view of the rejectee person who has been rejected. They bear the brunt the most because they feel hurt, they feel angry, they feel
Hmm.
stressed. They also may feel ashamed. They may
Yeah,
also
yeah.
feel
There are
tense.
there are multiple emotions which have been researched.
Correct.
Sadness is there, anger is there, vengefulness is there,
Mhm.
remorse is there. So many emotions are there which have been researched. My question is, Shishir, that um, this perception of being rejected comes up as the cognitive element which is causing these negative emotions. The thought that I have been rejected, the thought
Mhm.
that there is some kind of rejection happening over here. And very interestingly, you used a word just now when you said that I assisted a breakup. You used the word mutual. So
Mhm.
when it is mutual, then there is no rejectee or rejector. Then they're
So yeah,
deliberating, then they're deciding, then they're taking a call. So maybe this perception is not there.
true. So what you are saying is, there could be a perception that you have been rejected. What
Yeah.
you mean to say is that the person may not actually have been rejected, but they think that they have been rejected. Now, this could be actually true that you have been
Hmm.
rejected. So there could be a very
Hmm.
clear evidence that I am rejecting you now, and
Yeah. There could be. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
there could.
You're absolutely
So
right. There could be an actual rejection also.
yes, so that is not sufficient for feeling very very devastated about it. So unless there
Hmm.
is a component of there could be other components. For instance, the
Hmm.
rejection is fair, the rejection is unfair. So there could be
Hmm.
components like I have been unfairly rejected, and
Hmm.
so on. So how do people look at unfair
How do
rejection,
people look
fair
at
rejection?
rejection? Hmm.
Yes, that's the issue.
Hmm.
So when
Hmm.
people look at rejection in different ways, it decides their
Hmm.
emotional reaction about rejection, because there could be a perceived rejection, there could be a real rejection, there could be a
Hmm.
fair rejection, there could be an unfair rejection, there could be a mutual rejection. So how
Hmm.
people look at rejection in itself decides their reaction to it. Let us say, for instance, if person A is rejected, and they
Hmm.
think that all right, this means that we are not compatible, so the person rejected
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
And they may not feel devastated by it, but they may only feel
They may feel
disappointed.
bad. Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Hmm.
So another
Hmm.
person B starts
Hmm.
thinking that, oh my god, this person rejected me, and that means I am not up to the mark, there is something wrong
Hmm.
with. So this person B is more likely to feel depressed about it, right?
Hmm.
And if there is
Hmm.
a third party involvement, that they rejected me for another person, and
Hmm.
person C believes that the other person is better than I am, and
Hmm.
therefore the person chose them over me. So they may
Hmm.
feel what we call as unhealthy jealousy about the relationship, because they are
Hmm.
berating themselves and they are operating another person for it.
Another
So
person.
a
Correct.
variety of feelings can be experienced depending on what they think rejection means to them.
Yes, yes. And there are some things that research is saying, and they have used a very good term that priori predictions. What the person is actually predicting about the breakup before and after it happens. So there are, some 14 points over here. I'll discuss a few with you. So female rejectees are saying that there is a loss of emotional investment, and they say that there is a loss of protection. They used to feel protected in the
Correct.
relationship, and after the breakup they feel that now they are not feeling protected anymore. And female rejectees also feel that there is a loss of sexual access after the breakup.
Mhm.
This is about the female rejectees. And in all the rejectees, both male and female, what they are perceiving and what they are, going through is, out of 10, 4.3 are suffering depression.
Mhm.
So because you see, loss ka theme aa raha hai, that there is a loss of something.
True.
Something has been taken away from me.
Correct.
Then 4.59 go through, they do rumination. They ruminate a lot. So once the breakup is over, it is not over. You're still thinking about that
True.
for a
So
long time.
yes. So a relationship is definitely an investment for a lot, a security for a lot of people,
Yes.
and also a peer thing for a lot of people. Just because everyone else is in a relationship, I also need to be in a relationship, and then
Of
they
course,
start finding that there are other advantages.
this Shishir is a very important point, because ये जो 14th February का ये सारा जो माहौल है ना, इसमें you see, so many people are proposing, so many are receiving roses, so many are getting into relationships, और वहीं पे some of them will start feeling, यार मेरा तो कोई नहीं है, मुझे तो किसी ने रोज नहीं दिया, मुझे तो किसी ने प्रपोज नहीं किया. So number of cases of depression and feeling, sadness will increase during this period.
It may increase. Because if there is a peer influence operating primarily, then people may definitely feel rejected. So coming back to the previous point, is there is a loss theme always. The relationship means something to most people. And people who feel depressed definitely have the theme of loss. At the same time, there could be my entire life is worthless or meaningless. And, I am not good. I am not up to the mark. There is something wrong with me. So such beliefs get triggered in people. And that definitely contributes hugely to depression. So we're going to talk about how to get out of this, depression.
Yes. That's what we want to talk about. And all this background discussion is to understand the phenomenon, that why is it that we are feeling so, sad or angry or whatever it is. It because of the breakup, or is it something that we're thinking about the breakup?
Right. It is
because breakup is going to be inevitable sometimes. Some breakups, some circumstances ऐसे हो जाएंगे, या not only the premarital relationships, even long-standing marital relationships fail sometimes, and it can be
fail is the word. Okay, we're going to talk about this word when we talk about how to cope with the relationship, end of relationship. Now, this is an interesting word, fail. So the moment we say that end of relationship means failure, we're going to feel depressed. I often say this to people who say that I failed, I had a failed relationship. It's like, yeah, say that again. It's like, I had a failed relationship. You say, what do you mean by failed relationship? So they said my relationship ended. I say, like, that's more a neutral view to look at it. So because, when two people end a relationship, it could be mutual, it could be one way. It could be seen in a different way. For instance, the relationship was not helpful for me and my loved ones, or my most important people in my life in the longer run, and therefore it has ended. So if you look at it this way, that it was not helpful and therefore it ended, you're not going to have a sense of failure once you end the relationship, because then we start looking at ourselves as, I am weak, I am a failure, I'm a loser if I end the relationship. So
then that rating thing starts, evaluation and rating of this.
But it starts with the word failure. My relationship failed. I want you to I want all the people who are watching this to reconsider their word as failure. Then replace it with my relationship ended. If the most popular researchers in sex and human loving, Masters and Johnsons, they were a couple for a long time, but they got divorced. So these are the authorities. We say that these are the people who are, the biggest authorities in terms of people who did research in sex and human loving. And their books are still sought after by
Yeah,
psychologists,
they're
psychiatrists.
Bibles. It is
The Bible,
actually a Bible. Yeah.
So
And
Masters and Johnsons, they got divorced. Now, would you call their failure as failure?
and yeah, I remember when Albert Ellis fell off with Janet Wolfe, and he married Debbie. One of the RBTians of Mumbai, Kishore Phadke, he was very angry with him. He said, ये इतना लिख रहे हैं सेक्स और रिलेशनशिप पे, तो ये कैसे इन्होंने इसको छोड़ के उससे शादी कर ली? The other people were reacting about, but then, what is the meaning of it? It must have some meaning to him, to Janet Wolfe, to the other lady to whom, Australian lady to whom he got married. What meaning does it carry to an Indian person who is a student or who studies REBT? So, one point that I want to make over here, extending your point, is we are actually meaning-making creatures. And that's why this event occurs, but we want to make some meaning out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why these words like failure or rejected or, क्या बोलेंगे उसको, adjectives लगाना. This adjective, I think, is the culprit over here. What do you say?
We all are meaning-making creatures. In fact, this brain is a meaning-making machine, and without the meaning, we will not have an emotion. And believe me, I've traveled all over the world. I've seen so many countries. We are more similar than we are different. So we all have similar irrational thinking patterns. We all have similar rational thinking patterns. So we are more or less
rational and irrational. We are both rational and irrational.
Rational and irrational at the same time. So we are more similar than we are different. There are slight cultural differences for sure. That about dating and relationships, there are huge cultural differences in the Eastern world and the Western world. But the irrational belief systems associated with both of them are exactly similar. So failure.
They're universal in nature. Universal. तभी तो RBT हम पूरे वर्ल्ड में कर पा रहे हैं ना, नहीं तो हर कंट्री के लिए अलग अलग RBT बनानी पड़ती. इंडिया की RBT अलग, US की अलग, like that.
Slightly अलग अलग है, पर largely similar है.
Ji. Shishir, we missed one very interesting question from Chandana Bhuyan. She's asking us, the person who got dumped experiences pain. They also ask whether the person who dumped them, do they also experience pain? What's your opinion?
Well, the moment someone believes that they have been dumped, it also means that you are a trash and you are worthless, and therefore you have been dumped. So this the belief that you are dumped itself carries pain. So a person who believes that they are dumped will definitely experience pain. And you have the data, of course, like more women experience pain who are rejecting another person than the males. So males who are rejectors are still 35% feel happy. And then the proportion is different between females.
And one more interesting thing is 16% of these males feel indifferent.
Yeah, they feel indifferent. So I think the dumped word itself carries a lot of.
So 35 or 16 आप मिला लो तो almost 50%.
Yeah, so 50% of people will feel pain
51%
and won't. So 50% won't. So the people who I can predict who will feel the pain is people who think that it was a dump. It was they are worthless because they have been rejected. Will definitely feel a lot of pain.
Yes, and the data, Chandana, it says that rejectees feel more pain than rejectors. But let me tell you, rejectors also feel a lot of pain. And will you believe that 77% of female rejectors feel sad? 77%. They are themselves calling up a relationship. मैं ही तोड़ रही हूँ रिलेशनशिप और मैं ही दुखी हो रही हूँ. 77% as opposed to 35% males. And मैं ही रिजेक्ट कर रही हूँ, but 27% of females feel angry about it. And 50% of them feel confused about it, the rejectors. And so your question is answered. Rejectors are also feeling so much pain, especially when they are females. But one more interesting statistic is that 33% of males feel guilty. And so rejectors are also feeling pain.
True. All right. So rejectees both feel pain. They may not express it, but definitely, lot of rejectors, majority of rejectors and rejectees feel pain. The extent to which they feel pain would definitely be different, and there are personal factors behind it. There could be cultural factors that decide whether you are going to feel pain and how much pain you are going to feel. But I would rather highlight the factors that are individual factors, and this is what is important in dealing with
Yes.
the end of the relationship better. And because there
Yes.
are the personal factors matter the most, I think, besides the cultural factors or how the relationship ended, they do matter, but not as much as the personal factors that matter. And I think that the way the person thinks about themselves, the way the person thinks about the relationship, how they relate to themselves, how they relate to others, and the world in general, these are the most important factors that determine how well you are going to cope with the end of the relationship. So I'm not going to say rejection. I'm not going to say dumped. I'm only going to say end of the relationship.
End of the relationship. This is one important takeaway from today's session till now. Don't call it my relationship has failed. Don't call that I've been dumped. Don't call that I've been rejected. Instead, say that relationship has ended. And
Ended.
that end may have been inevitable. It may have been, purposeful. It may be actually helpful in some ways. So it is better to be neutral about it rather than. So this is first thing that we can do to deal with breakups. Something more about it, Shishir.
All right, so let's talk about depression, like most people go through when they feel they know that the relationship has ended. I often do this experiment while in the session, that the people who feel very depressed in the relationship, they think that the whole relationship has ended, and their whole life is over. There is no meaning left in life. So I often tell them that let's take an example, that this glass represents you or your life, right? Now it has some water in it, right? So and this water is clear, so there is no problem in this water. So you can enjoy this water. Mhm. There are no problems here. Now let's put some problems into it. Like, so I would pick up some pebbles and put into the glass, and these pebbles are problems. So one could be end of the relationship, one could be loss of money, there could be loss of fame, there could be loss of Instagram followers. So I could add multiple problems to it. So each problem is represented by a pebble. I can still, I don't like these problems, but I can still enjoy my life along with these problems. There could be still pebbles in it, but I can still enjoy my life, which is, the water is the water represents life. At a point in time, the whole glass may be full of pebbles, and still I would be able to enjoy my life with the pebbles, right? With the problems. So this is if I treat my life's problems, including the end of relationship, as pebbles. Now, some of these pebbles can be removed. So some problems can be solved. For instance, I can get my Instagram followers back. I can get another relationship. I can, get my money back and so on. But some problems may always remain, that, there could be some problems that will never be solved. But I can still enjoy my life, given that they are pebbles and water, they are different. But what if, instead of treating my life's problems as pebbles, including the end of the relationship, I treat it as a drop of ink? So imagine this is life, and I put a drop of ink into it, and this is the end of the relationship that the drop of
Hmm.
ink represents the end of the relationship.
Hmm.
Now, will I be able to enjoy this?
No, then you will be drinking ink.
I won't be able
You
to
would.
enjoy this. I won't be able to drink this. I would say the entire life is spoiled. My entire life is ruined.
Hmm. So that
And this,
drop of ink has actually penetrated the whole life. It
right,
has
it
become
colored
the
the
life.
whole life. It has
Ah.
colored the whole life. And that's what
Hmm.
many people who are severely depressed about a relationship, end of a relationship, think that my whole life is meaningless now. And
Hmm.
what they are actually doing is that they are coloring the whole life with the color of end of relationship. So they're not going to enjoy any other aspects of life because they think that the whole life is meaningless. It has ended. A lot
Hmm.
of young people do that with academics also. They make
Yeah.
academics as the center stage of life, and failing in an exam, they think, they treat it as a drop of ink. My entire life is ruined. My whole uh, like my every effort has gone waste. So they could overgeneralize their entire life based on one failure or a series of failures, for instance. So the point is that they are treating these problems as a drop of ink rather than treating them as pebbles. And
Yeah,
who has a pebble
wow,
free life?
what a great analogy. What a thing to remember. And as you say this, I also can think of so many people who, on the contrary, have made the difficulties of lives as the strengths. We were talking in Hem Shikhar. I don't know whether you follow our activities on YouTube. Uh, Hem Shikhar is one of our talk shows where we invite lots of people to talk about their life. And one of our guests this week was Deepa Malik. She's the first female para Olympian from India, and she has a paralysis of both her legs. Both her legs don't work. But she won medals for India in shot put, in discus, in javelin throw, in swimming.
Oh my God.
She got and all these things she learned after the age of 44 years. सब कुछ 44 years के बाद सीखा और उसके
Wow.
बाद खेला और उसके बाद जीता. She got the Arjuna Award. She got Khel Ratna Award. She got the Padma Shri, the highest honor of India.
Oh my God. Right. All right. So that's
So
very
see
inspiring.
now
I'm 44
how
too.
is she treating the pebbles?
I know, yeah, yeah. So I often say that the way you react to an adversity um, makes a lot of difference in how you are going to go ahead. A lot of people
Hmm.
want to move ahead in relationships, move on, as they say. I can also see some questions that are saying,
Yeah.
they want to move on, but
Hmm.
how to move on? Do you want me to take up that question? How to move on?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Please. Actually, my chat has somehow stopped. I am not able to see it.
No
So
issues.
you
So
can
I'm
please take
currently
if
following
yeah.
on YouTube. So a lot of people are
Huh.
saying that how to move on. First of all, um, first define what does moving on mean. So in clear terms, we are going to say that what three things you will be doing differently if you say that you have moved on. So imagine a CCTV camera, and then you have moved on. What would the CCTV camera observe? There are three things you are doing and three things you are not doing. For instance, I would be waking up on time, say 8 o'clock in the morning. I would be also going to the gym, and I would also reach office on time. So this is what is my definition of moving on.
Hmm.
What three things I'm not going to do? I'm not going to stalk their Instagram profile. I'm not going to see the last seen status, and I'm not going
Just
to
a second. I want to interrupt you. I want to interrupt you with the data on stalking.
okay.
So female rejectors are the number one stalkers. उन्होंने ही relationship break किया, but they are not leaving, and they go to the extent of spoiling that boy's next relationship.
Right.
So I'm not going to stalk. What a point. Yes. मैं
Yeah.
नहीं
So
देखूंगी
we're-
फेसबुक में. लास्ट सीन व्हाट्सएप का बार बार नहीं देखूंगी.
Correct. So these are the behaviors that you first need to decide that this is what
Hmm.
3 plus 3 or 5 plus 5,
Hmm.
whatever that that would mean moving on.
Hmm.
Before that, you need to understand why would moving on be helpful to you, because
Hmm.
sometimes people have erroneous ideas about moving on. They assume that moving on means I was not committed enough, so that these beliefs
Hmm.
hold them back. And
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
also say that my partner moved on, this means that they were not committed enough.
Hmm.
Now he has already started dating another girl, so that hurts me even more because he was not committed enough. And I would say, after the end of the relationship, the faster you get back on track, the better. So
Hmm.
such beliefs can hold you back. For instance, if I sulk for sufficient amount of
Hmm.
time, then
Hmm.
only my love was pure and genuine. No, this
Yes.
is not. Yeah, this is not
तभी
true.
मुझे सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा.
I'm
Hmm.
like, does someone show that there is a green signal? Up now you can move on now.
Now
Does
you
it
can move on. हाँ.
now you can move on?
Hmm.
Now enough amount of guilt. Now who decides that? So
Hmm.
moving on itself needs to be clearly defined, and you need to
Hmm.
identify what is holding you back from moving on.
Hmm.
So there could
Hmm.
be a guilt that I did wrong to the other person, or the other person did
Hmm.
wrong to me, and I need to suffer enough, or else it
Hmm.
does not make sense to move on. So these things need to be understood very clearly. Then what feelings are stopping you from moving on? There could be guilt, there could be shame, there could be anger, there could be, as you said, female stalkers. Some of female stalkers also go
Hmm.
after the other person. So the underlying feeling is, I would say, unhealthy jealousy, that they don't want another person to
Hmm.
enjoy another relationship, because
Hmm.
तुम मेरे नहीं हुए तो और किसी के भी होने
तो मैं
देंगे,
किसी का और का नहीं होने दूंगी.
किसी का होने लायक नहीं छोड़ूंगी.
मेरा पति सिर्फ मेरा है. Hmm.
I think males are much worse. These acid attacks and actually
Hmm.
defacing people,
Vengefulness. Yes.
facing their partners. Like, this is the worst form of vengeance that we can see. So it's not
Hmm.
only female stalkers. I wouldn't blame them. Males are a little more aggressive than females.
Hmm. 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 Yes, yes. And one more thing that I come across is denial,
Mhm.
where you do not even accept that the relationship has ended. It is
Mhm.
over now, and you are still waiting for that person to, reform in some way or come back to you, or you are, trying to do some kind of manipulation कि कुछ तो ऐसा हो जाए कि वो वापस आ जाए. You know, not being able to let go.
Yeah, letting go. There is a beautiful story I have heard about letting go.
Hmm.
The problem of denial is huge, because the problem with acceptance is a lot of pain. It comes with a lot of pain, and
Hmm.
the hope is a positive feeling that keeps them, at least keep going, because they keep hoping, and at least that keeps them alive as they think so. But it's not
Hmm.
so. The hope is a false hope, and they also know that it's a false hope,
Hmm.
and letting go of that hope is very, very difficult for them. I know of a
Hmm.
person, I know of a couple who actually ended, and this person waited for 30 years, 30 long
Oh
years,
my God. Oh my God.
before actually getting into another relationship. So
Hmm.
this is an epitome of what people can hold on to the relationship, because of beliefs like this, that if I let go, it means my love was not pure enough, so they are trying
I
to prove.
wonder, Salman Khan is also doing the same. पता नहीं
No
क्यों
comment.
शादी में पता नहीं ऐश्वर्या राय नहीं मिली तो भाई दूसरी शादी कर लेता अब तक तो. Anyways, now
No comment. No comments.
we
So
have another very interesting question. Now my chat has started working. Do
oh my.
rebound relationships help people in moving
Do
on?
rebound relationships help people move on? No, the rebound relationships only make you feel better, which is, you feel better that now you have another relationship. But they don't definitely make you get better. Getting better is actually reacting differently to the end of the relationship.
Hmm.
So a lot of rebound
Hmm.
relationships fail because the dynamics of the relationship remain the same. For instance,
Hmm.
it turns out that you are getting into the relationship for the wrong reasons. For instance,
Hmm.
compensating your negative self-image.
Hmm.
That, if I'm loved, then I'm lovable. If I'm not loved, then I'm unlovable. So if
Hmm.
I'm liked by people, then I'm beautiful. If I'm not liked by people, then I'm I am ugly. So such
Hmm.
dynamics could be there.
And if
There
I'm
could be another,
rejected, something is wrong with me. Personalization ka phenomenon.
yeah, something is wrong with me. And
Hmm.
then there could be, I can't deal with my problems all by myself, so I'm incompetent and I need a relationship to probably
Hmm. Hmm.
to to
Hmm.
survive in this physical world. So if the dynamics remain the same, the rebound relationship is
It's
likely
not
to
going to help.
it's not
It's
going to
not
work
going.
probably, right?
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
may end again. So
Hmm.
that's the answer.
Yes, and the therapy or counseling is a better thing to do rather than these ineffective or unhealthy coping strategies. Sometimes it's better to approach a person who can help you, a neutral person who can help you to assess your own beliefs. And Kumar Pratik is having another question: how to educate the rejectee that their partner wanted to move on. Now, how to help the rejectee who is coming to us for the help, to a
So
psychologist for help?
when a rejectee comes to help, we need to first identify their feelings. What does the end of the relationship mean to them? For most people, end of the relationship means rejection, and that they are inferior, there is something wrong with them, and they are not
Hmm.
up to the mark. So the
Hmm.
first thing that we need to do is, often give this example. Hey, I ask the rejectee who thinks that they
Hmm.
are not good enough, they are bad for some reason
Hmm.
because they are rejected. Hey, what kind of vegetables do you like? And this is like,
Hmm.
I like alana falana, I like tomato, I
Hmm.
like potatoes.
Hmm.
And I say
Hmm.
that, what kind of vegetables you don't like? And they say, like, you
Hmm.
don't like karela, I don't like tinde, I don't like bhindi.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
say that, let's assume that you went to a vegetable market and you picked up your favorite vegetables, tomato, potatoes, and these
Hmm.
tomato potatoes are very happy that, yes, you chose us, you chose us. And then,
Hmm.
you just don't look at these bhindi and tindes and karelas like, I don't like them.
Hmm.
And these
Hmm.
karelas, bhindis are crying, please, please, please pick us up. You are the 17th customer who is rejecting us
Hmm.
today. Today is Vegetable Valentine's Day. At least today, don't reject us. Like, you don't listen. You don't give a shit.
Hmm.
And then, I ask them, like, does this mean that these vegetables are bad vegetables? It's like, no,
Hmm.
they're
Just because
not
you are
bad.
rejecting them.
I don't like them. Like, please spare me of them.
Uh,
So, in a similar way, you don't like certain aspects of them. For instance, Karela, you don't like the bitter taste.
hmm.
The lady's finger, you don't like okra, you don't like the stickiness of it.
Hmm.
And there could be some consistency or taste that you don't like. Necessarily, these are not bad vegetables, but, they don't suit your taste.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, I get it. But what does this have to do with my rejection? It's like, in a
Hmm.
similar way, when someone rejects you, does it say that you are a bad person, or does it say more about their taste, that they don't
Hmm.
like you? And they get
Hmm.
it. Yeah, of course, it means that they don't like me. That does not mean that I am bad. I may have certain
And so
things in me that,
you can happily sing. You can then happily sing. इसमें तेरा घाटा मेरा कुछ नहीं जाता.
um, no, it could be a loss
Yeah.
basically. So I also prevent them from saying that it's your problem and it's your loss, because
Hmm.
it could be actually your personal loss. So that is again
Yeah.
moping that isme tera hi ghata mera nahi hai. But do not take it personally. So if someone rejects you, there are certain aspects that you could change. And one of my patients actually wanted to know what needs to be changed in me. I said, like, a mouthwash to begin with. So so there are certain things that they can change in themselves, and to appear a little more desirable to other people.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
definitely it does not mean you're not good enough.
Yes. Of course, yes. And one more very interesting question by Gurmeet Kalsi. She says that in our culture, especially married relationships, there's a lot of wrong that is happening, and you're suffering a lot in the relationship, but still the families want you to be united. फैमिलीज का प्रेशर रहता है कि नहीं नहीं कैसे भी एडजस्ट करो निभाओ निभाओ हाउ टू डील विद दिस.
Now, every couple would probably have different goals amongst themselves. They need to
Hmm.
first decide what do we want individually. So your own long term goals should be kept on top priority, immediately followed by your partner's goals and the people's goals who are very
Hmm.
who are near and dear to you, so the
Hmm.
significant people. So
Hmm.
you must remember that the long term goals need to be understood by all of them. So do not, I mean, like, selfish would be looking at your own goals at the cost
Hmm.
of the family's
Hmm.
goals, and
Hmm.
self interest would be looking at your personal goals without compromising other people's goals. So many people fail to differentiate between selfish and self interest. So
Yes.
do things in self interest, at the same time do not compromise other people's goals, but at the same time, look at what would be helpful in the longer run for all of you, beginning with you, in
Hmm.
all the aspects. For instance, your emotional health, your physical health, your financial health, your professional
Hmm.
and your interpersonal health. What would be helpful in the longer run?
Hmm.
You need to do it. So
Hmm.
so I think this solves the problem of, I'm doing it under the pressure of family.
Hmm.
Nothing,
Hmm.
nothing like that. You need to look at self interest without compromising other people's interest.
One of the things that we can do to take a rational or deliberate decision whether our relationship is really helping us to live a fulfilling life, whether it is helping us to live a life which we wanted to live, or whether it is become a pain or an obstacle, and how is it helping. Maybe we could teach people cost benefit analysis kinds of things, where they do the pros and cons things for themselves, they do it with their partner, they do it with the family, and then they, because there is a lot of relationship, there is a lot of research on breakups and their costs.
Right.
Breakup can be a very emotionally, huh? Yeah.
Coming to your point, whether the relationship is a pain or is it helpful? Now, it could be both. It
Yeah.
could be both. The relationship could actually have lots of arguments, lots of, there are certain wrong things in the relationship. Let's say, for instance, there are certain unhelpful things
कोई,
in the relationship.
हाँ
There could be
बिल्कुल, तो
different.
मीठी तो कोई होगी नहीं ना रिलेशनशिप, बिल्कुल
So,
एकदम मीठी तो नहीं होगी.
नहीं होगी और मीठी एकदम मजा भी नहीं आएगा. So
नहीं
so
आएगा, बीच बीच में कुछ तो चाहिए, नमकीन अचार टेस्टी.
So relationships could be largely helpful in the longer run, but also have negative feelings, and that's perfectly fine. There is
Hmm.
nothing like a perfect relationship that only has positive feelings. I mean, that would be so
Hmm.
boring. So
Hmm.
don't think that the relationship is only helpful or completely unhelpful. So don't get into this black and white thinking also, that the
Hmm.
relationship is either this way or that way. No, the
No, it
relationship could be
cannot be. It cannot
largely
be.
this way
The
or that
only
way.
thing is we have to calculate the cost of being in the relationship.
Correct.
If
Overall long run.
if over the long run, for so this the question that my family doesn't want me to divorce just because we have been married for 25 years, and I have two kids who are growing up. So yes, that could be an important factor to consider when you are doing the cost benefit analysis. I
Correct.
mean,
Yeah.
what is going to be the cost of the breakup to yourself, to the other person, to your children, to the family involved? You cannot, be only thinking about one aspect. You have to think about all the other aspects as well. And still, a breakup could be helpful for everyone. And I
Absolutely.
have, yeah, and I have seen people who, after breaking up, have had better relationships.
True.
One of the examples is of Gulzar and Rakhi. In their biography, they say this, that it was so painful to be together, but once we separated, we are best of friends till now, and we have been able to give quality relationships to our daughter. अगर वो
Wonderful.
रोज हमें सुबह से लेकर रात तक लड़ते हुए देखती, उससे अच्छा ये है कि हम अलग रहते हैं, पर हम अपनी बेटी के लिए सदा अवेलेबल है.
Mhm. That's
So
interesting.
this can be, yeah. And one more question that we missed was uh, emotionally unavailable partner के बारे में था, कि what do we do when the partner is emotionally unavailable?
Now, what do we mean by emotionally unavailable? That's also important to know. There are certain
Hmm.
personality factors in people that make them technically, they are aloof, they are introverted, their emotional expression may be blunted, or they generally do not know how to actually express their emotions. So before labeling someone as emotionally unavailable, which is not definitely a diagnostic term, I would say, so we could say that the person's personality traits are this, or there could be a skill deficit. The person does not know how to express emotions. Imagine someone who has been raised by parents, and if they cry, it's like, why are you crying? Men don't cry. Why are you crying like a girl? And this guy suddenly was like, okay, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. So they don't express their emotions, and if they get angry, they would say like, why are you angry? And why are you yelling? So they become emotionally blunt. They can't express their emotions. So they have lost the skills of expressing emotions. Now, such people may actually be seen as emotionally unavailable. In fact, they are emotionally available, but they do not know how to express emotions. So beware of this label of emotionally unavailable people. There are none. There are only human beings who could decide to not be available emotionally. There could be human beings who do not know how to express emotions.
And this actually brings us to an important important principle of unconditional other acceptance
Absolutely, yeah. So other
in a
person
relationship.
is
Yeah.
human, who needs to be accepted the way they are, and that's how
Hmm.
you. I would suggest that these people need to get a proper evaluation done. We suggest MCMI 4, which is a standardized psychological evaluation, can be done by a clinical psychologist, and that gives you a very clear idea of why the person is behaving the way they are. And it's also on the corrective path, that this is what needs to be done to get the relationship back on track. So I would say that if you are facing any difficulties in a relationship, it always makes sense to consult a trained therapist. It's important to consult a trained therapist.
Yes.
And there could be some reservations with this. So you may just choose to go for 3 sessions, and if it helps, then you stick on to 5 more sessions. But it always makes sense to go to a trained therapist.
Hmm. Yes, and that is the message actually. Don't suffer alone. There is help available and there is scientific help available. So you can always seek that help.
Yes, so we have another question by Swati, who says, how to come out of toxic
Yeah,
relation.
yeah. I was just going to take that question. Yes, yes, Shishir. How to come
Interest.
out of toxic. Yeah.
All right, so now toxic relationships could be defined something like, a relationship that involves physical abuse, a relationship that involves psychological abuse, a relationship that involves manipulation, the relationship which is certainly largely unhelpful for you in the longer run, right? Now, I'll give you two examples. Sometimes people keep going after a toxic relationship, so-called toxic relationship, and then they keep complaining and whining about, oh my God, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm
Hmm.
suffering. So I give an example of, remember, while driving, if you follow a garbage truck, you're constantly going to get the stink. And there's no point in complaining that, oh my God, there is so much of stink, there is so much of stink. I
Hmm.
mean, you're following a garbage truck. Either slow
Hmm.
down, let the garbage truck go ahead, or overtake the
Hmm.
garbage truck so you won't have the stink. But sulking and whining will not help here. So
Hmm.
second point is, making a decision. Now, it is not so easy as it sounds like. So till the point you do make a decision, I often recommend that, let us say that the relationship is toxic, or the relationship is something that you're suffering a lot. I give the example of cactus while explaining a quality that helps you be more resilient. So this is cactus. Okay, no, this is a fake cactus. So this is cactus that has a beautiful quality of adapting to very harsh environment. Like, the cactus has adapted itself to very harsh weather conditions over millions of years. So now, what is this adaptation? You can see the thick skin of this cactus. So I'm not talking about the thorns. For sure, the thorns will keep people away, but the thick skin helps it conserve water and energy, so that it doesn't dry up and die in the harsh environment. So human beings do not need millions of years to adapt. So we can adapt to harsh conditions so that it does not affect us we don't get devastated and depressed in very harsh conditions. So the first thing you need to develop is resilience or endurance. I do not call it tolerance for a very specific reason, because tolerance may mean that submission. No, no, no.
Hmm.
I say adaptation. I say, resilience. I say grit. That is a word that you can develop within you so that you don't get emotionally so affected. And why is this important? Because if you're too emotionally affected, then you can't make decisions with a clear head. So once you calm down a little bit with less emotional upset, then you will be able to make a decision. So coming out of toxic relationships can mean multiple steps. If you are dependent physically, psychologically, or monetarily, then you need to build your buffers. And then you need to first change your image that I can't deal with my problems all by myself. So that's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. You can always learn the skills. Millions of people have come out of toxic relationships. They thought that they won't be able to cope, but they do cope, because human beings are very, very, very adaptable. Remember, you will probably be able to deal with it much better than you thought you would be. So, seek professional help again, develop grit, and then develop skills along with developing buffers. I'm sure that you will be able to come out of a toxic relationship.
Yes. And Swati, your question is answered in your own question. When you say that they cannot due to emotional dependency. So, emotional dependency is the thing that we need to work on. Maybe we need to train ourselves in assertiveness skills. Maybe we need to train ourselves in building our own confidence. So many things we will have to work on our own self to be able to come out of the toxic relationship. One thing. Second thing, I want to give an example of one of my students who is following this chat. She lost her husband within 4 years of her marriage. Two young kids and this lady, and she was thrown out of the house. She was literally on the roads with nothing, with two small kids, छोटे छोटे दो बच्चों के साथ. And today, both her kids are studying in the US. She's doing very well for herself. She has built her own house. She's done everything. So, as Shishir is saying, we are born resilient. We have all
Correct.
the capacity of adaptability. ये तो हम अगर mentally give up कर देते वो बात अलग है. But जो नहीं भी आता है वो भी हम सीख सकते हैं. We can go to people, and psychologists and therapists are people who can train you, who can help you to learn certain things which you may not know. So take it as a coaching, as an education, rather than feeling that there is something wrong with us, that's why we are going to a therapist. जिसको physics नहीं आती वो physics की tuition लगाता है ना, जाता है ना help लेने. जिसको emotions को deal नहीं करना आता है वो हमारे पास आ जाओ. हमने जो थोड़ा कुछ पढ़ा है कहीं कहीं से, शिशिर भी वर्ल्ड में कहाँ कहाँ से पढ़कर आए हैं, उसका फायदा उठाओ. हम लोग जहां जहां से पढ़कर आए हैं, जितना भी हमने अपने आप को इसके लिए ट्रेन किया, वी कैन हेल्प यू विद दैट ट्रेन, ऑफ कोर्स विद अ कॉस्ट.
I'm not going to promote my business here, but definitely skills training. There are multiple ways to learn skills. Of course, there are Instagram reels that teach you skills. A lot of 5-minute crafts these days. But seriously speaking, there are multiple ways besides therapists to learn skills. There have been huge amount of literature available on how to cope with
Yes.
end of relationships. There are a lot of
lot of content is there, whether
I
it
think
is in the books, but the only thing is you'll have to choose the right ones.
true.
कोई मोटिवेशनल स्पीकर ने आपको बोल दिया लॉ ऑफ अट्रैक्शन की, भाई वो अफर्मेशन करते रहो और सब ठीक हो जाएगा, भैया उससे कुछ ना होने का.
Honestly,
Scientific.
there is nothing like a person who has coped with end of relationships better, so they are good role models. And generally who have people who have dealt with setbacks well, they are very good role models. So what, I remember one of my very, very wise buas. So she's no more now, but she was very wise. And in the very early stages of my marriage, I was going through a lot of things, because the relationship was new for me, and I was in an upcoming stage of my career. And I was very depressed at that point in time, and I went to this bua, and I said, like, I was like constantly crying, and it's like this and that and this and that, things are not the way I want it to be.
Mm.
And she just said one thing, she just put her very loving hand. She listened to me for half an hour. Not
Mm.
that a therapist would do. I would never listen to someone
Mm.
for non-stop for half an hour. But she did listen to me for half an hour. And she just put her hand on my back and she said, Shishir, not everything will happen the way you want in life. And then she paused.
Exactly. Mm.
And she said, like, come, I have made some nice dinner for you. And then she didn't talk about it. And I think that
Mm.
was such a life-changing therapy session for me. I simply shook it. It shook my belief that things have to happen the way I want. And
Yes.
she was a 75-year-old lady then who said that, not everything will happen the way you want. And that was quite comforting, and it hit
That
the
was
nail on
it.
the head.
That
Yeah,
was
and that
it.
was it. I
Like
enjoyed
in the
I cried for 15 minutes and then I enjoyed the meals like never before. So, sometimes people who are very resilient are very good sources of support for you.
yes.
Of course, they cannot replace therapists because we also treat disorders, which, wise
Mm.
people themselves may not be able to. So I would strongly recommend multiple ways to cope with issues, but
Yes.
please cope with them. Don't just get into a shell and, sulk, because sulking or rumination, keeping thinking
It's
about
not.
problems only worsens your mood and it does not solve any problem.
Thank you so much, Shishir. We have lots of questions which have remained unanswered और एक घंटा हो भी गया.
I know. Yes. So I'll quickly answer the jealousy wala question. So
हाँ, healthy, unhealthy. Veena is
yeah,
asking. Yeah.
healthy jealousy is aimed at saving the relationship and doing something constructive or ending the relationships amicably. Whereas unhealthy relationship is aimed at harming either three partners. So there are always three partners involved, harming self, the other partner, or the third partner. And it causes a lot of distress, whereas healthy jealousy does not cause a lot of distress. The actions that you intend in healthy jealousy are largely helpful in the longer run, whereas
It's
those
constructive in nature.
jealousy, they are unhelpful in the longer run.
Thank you so much, Shishir. It was such a great pleasure interacting with you. I was
Likewise.
not visible most of the time because of lack of light over here, but I did not want to miss this opportunity because so many people were waiting for this session. And yeah, and I hope that some of their questions have been answered, and would like to love to have you once more whenever it is feasible
Absolutely.
for you.
Yeah. So we'll like to
Thank
talk
you
about
so
other
much.
things. Definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you
Thank you
everyone
so
for
much.
your great support, and have a very happy Valentine's week and happy Valentine's Day. It's meant for everyone. So please wish your loved ones, romantic or non-romantic partners, anything. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shishir. Thank you.